Tony D and Little Joan in the background, and this is a Hollywoke, I guess you call it a Hollywoke short take. Gonna look at some of the reviews that are coming in for Fantastic Four First Steps. Sort of by request, going through more articles. Let's see what the critics are saying. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, The Pineys, books 1 through 18, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. The Piney from Squankum, now available. All right, let's get into it. So first, there is the trades. Now, the trades are almost always positive for every movie that comes out. Like, literally every movie. Once in a while, there's such a stinker. They'll say, well, this isn't very great, or whatever. So, I don't think you can get a lot from, say, Deadline or Variety or whatever. I wouldn't go by them at all. But, so, yeah. They're basically talking about it. Deadline's Damon Wise described the film as satisfying and stylish Marvel adventure. It also benefits from a smart script, and I can't believe I'm writing this, really quite moving performances from its 4 charismatic leads, being arguably the best Pedro Pascal releases of the year, and there's been a lot of them. Yeah, so again, so I wouldn't go with totally by these guys. Cosmic Book News, Fantastic Four Rotten Tomatoes score revealed, on par with Thunderbolts, which didn't do too well. Didn't seem to make its money back, but it's kind of early. It's at 87% there. Right now it's at 86% at Rotten Tomatoes. But, you know, could this be the movie, like a lot of movies we saw, where the critics gave it a high rating and then the audience hated it, and then vice versa in other movies? So we'll see. You know, I think part of the thing that's probably helping it is the aesthetic. I think the embracing the aesthetic was a good move. Now, I don't think, you know, making a female Silver Surfer and some of the other changes are particularly good, but, you know, here's a couple not fresh reviews. Katie Walsh, Tribune News Service. Perhaps it would have been relegated to the small screen then, because the biggest one isn't doing this movie any favors. Message this urgent shouldn't be rendered in such a forgettable fashion. Odie Henderson, Boston Globe. Unfortunately, neither a time frame change nor the work of 4 screenwriters, took 4 people to write the Fantastic Four, can fix the central problem with Fantastic Four movies. With one exception, the team members are colossal bores. All right. So, now, I will say that I scanned the internet as best I could for reviews, and there's a lot of positive reviews. But that's not saying much, because most of the websites, they'll shill for anybody, I feel. I don't really trust them. There's only a handful of guys I trust. Now, Gary over at Nerdrotic, I think he gave first impressions. I know that Chris Gore did, and Chris Gore said it was the best Marvel film of the year. But that's a low bar. I mean, it's better than Thunderbolts. Okay. That doesn't really tell you much. So, I don't know if they really liked it, but I'm sure they'll be talking about it on their shows. So, these guys liked it. It's a fairly complicated puzzle of a movie, but I think audiences will be able to follow it, and that is good. Maybe it's just an I love you, not just that way situation. Performances and gorgeous production design enhance the otherwise middling Marvel installment. That's Rafer Guzman in Newsday. The other one was David Poland in Hot Button. So, high marks on Rotten Tomatoes, but again, I wouldn't trust Rotten Tomatoes either. They gave high marks to drag me to hell. Here's over at Reddit. There's some highlights here. Brandon Davis, Chris Callan at comicbook.com, Shabazz, the movie podcast, Matt Neglia, Next Best Picture, Ash Croson, Screen Rant, and Brian Long, Films, Andrew Salazar. All these guys basically liked it. It seems to me. Here's The Guardian, the Fantastic Four First Steps review. Marvel regains buoyancy with wacky superhero family sitcom. 3 out of 5. That's not the worst rating. It's at least mid. In retro-futuristic version of the early 60s, New York, Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm are living together as a dysfunctional family with the Human Torch and the Thing with a baby on the way. Then we've got this weird one from comicbookmovie.com. The Fantastic Four First Steps. 4 complaints from fans that make absolutely no sense. Okay, number 4. Gender-swapped Silver Surfer. It 100% makes sense to be complaining about that. I want the Norrin Rad. I don't want girl Silver Surfer. Number 3. Mr. Fantastic's facial hair. It would take literally nothing for Pedro Pascal to have shaved that off and looked more like the character from the comic book. Why not do it? Why not? And why does he have 5 o'clock shadow? The Invisible Woman is the lead character. She's absolutely not the lead in the comic. They're doing it in the comic, and now they're doing it in the movie, I believe. Again, no bueno. And finally, the Thing's accent. The Thing is supposed to be from the Bronx or Brooklyn or whatever. He's supposed to have a New York accent. Yeah, he should have it. 100%. These are all valid complaints. Comicbookmovie.com. Completely valid. The final Fantastic Four First Steps trailer has me questioning the whole thing, said Kotaku. Is Marvel just keeping this one close to the chest, or is this all there is to show? Yeah, I mean, I think this movie probably got edited to death. You know, and it's not necessarily just about the focus groups. Because these guys out in Hollywood, it's been scrapbooking focus groups for a long time now. They're now even budgeting reshoots. I think if you're going to have reshoots based on focus groups, you've basically given up control of the movie to randos who you don't know if their opinions are worth a damn or not. Again, the focus groups can take a horrific movie and make it kind of passable, but I think it takes anything good and makes it mid. And that's why I think we're getting a lot of mid movies. Now, maybe Shackman's original vision is great. I strongly suspect that's the case with the first Venom movie, which seemed to get cut to pieces in a weird way that seemed pretty obvious when you watch the movie. You know, it's going in one direction for two acts, and then by the end of the second act, it seems to take on a different sort of twist. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hacked this one to bits. This is from Cinema Blend. Now that I know what Galactus really wants in the Fantastic Four First Steps, I'm feeling less joyful about watching his reign of chaos. I mean, I knew Galactus was a big old monster, but geez. Not sure what that means. Reed Richards reveals Galactus' extremely problematic demand. Okay. The latest Fantastic Four clip takes place mostly within the press conference that's been at the heart of the promotional campaign since the early days. He stuns everyone by admitting the team did not yet take down Galactus as others seems to believe they did. Despite Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm sounding confident they would eventually be successful, Reed reveals the key reason why they weren't able to appease the impossibly large behemoth, saying, "He asked too high a price. He asked for our child." Okay. Weird. So I guess why would being as powerful as Galactus want the infant Franklin Richards? Because he knows he's powerful, maybe, to turn him into it. But he's powerful too. I don't know. That's not a thing in the comics, I don't think. It could be. It's not totally out of the realm. All right. So again, there were a lot of positive ones. So I don't want to give you the impression it was break even. But understand that a lot of people, they don't like to criticize movies. Because weirdly, when you're very critical, you tend to get more hits. And when you're just positive, it tends to be a boring video. But in articles, I mean, if you're a paid shill, you got a shill, right? I don't know if everybody on the internet or even any of the ones I've shown you are paid shills, but I think there are probably a lot of paid shills out there, and I think they go for pretty cheap, you know, free passes and some coupons, good for some free food, and I think you're good to go with 90% of these guys. So here is IGN, the Fantastic Four First Steps review. Good first steps, not great strides. So they seem kind of lukewarm into it. There's almost an unfair amount of pressure being placed on the Fantastic Four First Steps expectations to do what it was most likely never designed to do, thanks to all the things we know about what's coming next for the MCU, most notably a green-cloaked villain played by an actor who helped launch the whole franchise. Yeah, so one could argue. The good news is First Steps lives up to most of these expectations. To start with, the actual Fantastic Four are great. Good. Pedro Pascal likes him as Reed. The good and bad about Pascal's performance is that it can at times seem a little fat. I don't know, he seems kind of wimpy. To me, Reed Richards is pretty freaking dynamic and alpha. The real star of the First Steps is Vanessa Kirby. Sue Storm saves all the days. See, that would really piss me off. Now, if they all got to do something, that would be fair. Like, he reads the leader, but they all have their moments. But Sue Storm saving all the days, nah. Game Rant. Not that bad, but not that good either. So that's almost worse than a bad movie in some respects. First Steps reaction shared by Insider doesn't sound great. Okay. My source called it both mid and meh, and not that bad, but not that good either. So he didn't even say it. Maybe he saw an early cut of it. He said another insider who hasn't watched the film said it was a mess, a huge problem movie. That doesn't sound very good either. And finally, this was admittedly the worst review I could find so far. But that New York Post is fairly trustworthy. Fantastic Four First Steps review. Ugh, here we go again. So he sounds like he has superhero fatigue. He says, what's this guy's name? Johnny Olenitsky. Calling the Fantastic Four First Steps the best Fantastic Four movie is not exactly a quote I'd advise Disney to slap on the poster. Wow. Talk about grading on a curve. The last three pathetic attempts to put the story of Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, and the Thing on screen have made miserable viewers go, global annihilation? Sounds nice. Wow, dude, you really hate the movies. Not to be deterred, the MCU is dragging the Raggedy Group out of storage for their 37th movie. That figure is unfortunately not a typo. Oh, okay. You're talking about the MCU movies in general. The result, First Steps, marks a slight improvement from the preceding trilogy of terror, but Marvel still can't nail what should be one of its premier attractions. Forgettable. 1.1.5 out of 5. Wow. All right. Oh, he's got a breakdown of this. So there might be some spoilers in here, so heads up. The movie begins appropriately with a big pep in its step, dropping the heroes in retro-futuristic NYC that appears to be a technology-advanced 1960s. Is the right call by Mac Shackman and his army of screenwriters. There's a Jetsons visual panache that sets the film apart from the other 36. The team's New York lair could be the TWA Hotel at JFK. Also, the gold star for racing through the exposition in a newsreel at the beginning. 4 years ago, some astronauts got neat powers in space, yada yada, to avoid the usual origin story portentousness. Yes, I agree with that as well. However, trembling in fear, First Steps can't resist the comic book urge to contort the mood ASAP to grave, gloomy, and unfun for most of the runtime. The stakes may be stratospherically high, but our serotonin levels are low, low, low. For the soups, Marvel has recruited some super serious actors. There's Pedro Pascal, who has probably been frowning so much because he's overworked as Stretchy Reed Richards. Vanessa Kirby, making Medea seem like the life of the party as Vanishing Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn nervously tiptoeing around genuine comedy as Flaming Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss Bachrach as a Zen take on Rocky Ben Grimm. I don't like that either. It doesn't sound like the characters. They're all fine, if oddly joyless for people wearing powder blue Star Trek uniforms. I can't say I ever want to see them play these parts again. Good thing they've been cast in at least 2 more MCU films through 2027. The 4 face a couple of foes. There's the humongous Galactus, who is essentially Megatron from the Transformers, and his shiny cowabunga henchwoman, the Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner. Whose dumb idea was it to cast Garner, one of the most expressive and electric actors working today, as a slab of metal that speaks in monotone? Yeah, should have been a dude. Should have been Norrin Rad. Fee-fi ho-hum, Galactus is going to gobble up the world, but he offers the 4 another option. He'll slow his roll if Reed and Sue hand over their new baby. The doting parents aren't on board with that plan, so in a scene that lasts, I kid you not, 2 minutes, they try and fail to teleport Earth to another part of the universe. In the end, Galactus goes Godzilla and stomps around Manhattan, crushing skyscrapers. The Thing, a dude made of rocks, is the closest the movie comes to a fleshed out person, and only because he cooks pasta and flirts with Natasha Lyonne twice. I'll give First Steps this: it doesn't tie itself in knots, making tedious connections to the rest of the MCU. The story is relatively simple, if poorly paced, and the neat aesthetic imagines what an Apple store would look like during the Kennedy administration. But that's just not enough to prevent Shackman from joining the sorry ranks of filmmakers who couldn't wrap their heads around what the tone of the Fantastic Four should be. Are they funny? Are they grounded? Are they deep? The film's so unbalanced, one wonders if the director and writers donned a blindfold and threw a dart. How dramatic and depressing can a character named Mr. Fantastic possibly be? Just you wait. During the climatic battle scene, Galactus tortuously stretches Mr. Fantastic nearly beyond his limits as Pascal wails an excruciating cry worthy of one life to live. I, on the other hand, let out a big laugh. Oof. That is no bueno. All right, so here are the comments on that article. I am so tired of Pascal Perez showing up and everything. This morning he was in my Raisin Bran. Also spelled incorrectly. But funny, Pascal is in too many movies. Much more simple. I didn't think the first one with Ian Grufeld was that bad. Grufeld? I had hopes for this based on the retro look, but the subsequent trailers looked horrible. Looks like more of the same. Kirby's mouth is always half open. Has a constipated look. Oh, you mean Vanessa Kirby. Okay. The only thing worse than an over-animated superhero movie is an over-animated superhero movie starring Pedro Pascal. There's one reason I won't be watching this movie, Pedro Pascal. I had low expectations for Fantastic Four given past movies of the comic, but I was a little more interested by the commercials in which Pedro Pascal says something like Galactus asked too much for his request for their son. Yeah, the low expectations may actually help it because, I mean, just think. You go into a movie with low expectations and they're exceeded and you think, well, that was pretty good, even if the movie kind of sucks. Jesus, see, does anyone just make original movies anymore? With respect, can we please popularize a different exclamatory word? Oh, come on. Stop correcting people. Reviews are overwhelmingly positive. The guy never likes anything. He praised the Superman film the other day. Countered somebody else. Pascal, the ultra lib, makes a never watch. You guys can keep the commie. I think some people will have that attitude as well. Guess it's too much to ask that Hollywood create some actual original content. Everybody says this movie is very good, but this guy goes and shouts, hey, look at me, I'm different, I'm cool. No one says the movie is good unless you count Fargo Auto Trader. Wrong actors, changing the Silver Surfer from male to female. There's so many things wrong with this movie. Once again, Marvel screws things up. Oh God, Pedro is in it. Well, given his leftness, I will make sure not to give them any of my money. Please, no more reboots. No one cares. Is that Burt Reynolds' grandfather? Sounds pretty gay to me. Anytime you see fools in dumb costumes, you already know it's bad. What an F-fest. Kirby's mouth is always half open with a constipated look. Somebody else said that. Here's a simple solution. If you're not a Marvel fan or a superhero fan, don't watch it. Okay? As someone who grew up on Marvel Comics and the Fantastic Four, I'll be there to see it, regardless of what any mopes or some soy boy reviewer have to say about it. What you don't understand, that they won't make any money only selling tickets to comic book readers? I don't know. I mean, the problem is the readers of the Fantastic Four, let's say you were 12 when the Fantastic Four came out in 1965. That put you somewhere north of your 70s now. The audience for the Fantastic Four comics, when they were classic, they're all too old for the movie now, or they're gone. Now, you're talking about people who maybe closer to my age, they grew up in the 80s when it was halfway decent in the 80s. John Byrne's run was pretty good. After that, I mean, you could maybe argue Mark Waid's run was okay-ish, but not great. I mean, the Fantastic Four's heydays are way in the rear view. Someone just says, movie sucks. Why have a third version of the same movie nobody watched to begin with? It will suck. Yeah, so a bit of a back and forth here in the New York Post. Olenitsky, maybe he's like me, he doesn't like a lot of things. He does seem to be in the minority, but again, that's not necessarily wrong. You know, we got a lot of that with some of the previous MCU offerings. See, also too, people want to like it, right? There's MCU stands, they want to like it. There are people who love the Fantastic Four, they desperately want it to be good. I mean, I want it to be good too, but I try not to let it color my reviews and analysis if I can. It looked bad to me. I have to stick to my guns. I still think it's going to be bad, but Disney might prop it up long enough for a lot of people to see it. I think from a creative standpoint, it's probably not great, but it may be that the bar is so low now. I mean, it's like with the Superman thing. It's like with a few movies that came out. some critics that I like kind of like some of them, or at least gave it sort of a passing, like, well, it wasn't so bad. It may be that the bar has been pushed so low now that any movie with a halfway decent kind of, you know, I mean, you look at Superman. I don't think Superman's that bad. I really don't. It's fine. It's not a movie I would ever see again. It's not classic by any stretch, but it's okay. It's got some moments. I didn't hate myself for going to see it. Um, Maybe Fantastic Four has risen to at least that level. If that's the case, the people who want to like it will have enough ammo in their brain to say, yes, I do like this movie, and recommend it to their friends. Um, you know, it's been a dismal year for Disney, and they're desperately trying to turn the boat around. It could be, I mean, a lot of movies sometimes, the pacing is so frantic, and things just sort of blow by you, and you're watching a movie, and you come out and like, yeah, that was pretty good, I think. But then later, when you think about it, you realize, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense, or oh yeah, that plot point didn't really make any sense. Um, it's just that the pacing was so frantic and on point. All that stuff just didn't matter because you were caught up in the moment. So maybe it's like that. I think the aesthetic really helps it. People like that aesthetic, But again, a lot of that aesthetic is aimed at people who are very old. So the people who enjoy it are, millennials who look back on that era and go, oh, that was a cool era. Oh, the fashion's cool and the technology's cool. Wish I had some of that. And alternate Earths are cool. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would enjoy the alternate Earth aspect of this, if you commit to it, right? And they've pretty much committed to it. You look at the clothes and the technology and the hair and stuff, and you've probably got slightly altered histories because of the characters and their presence. Is Kennedy still president? I mean, that would be, a Democrat's dream. Oh, he was never assassinated. The Fantastic Four saved him, and the world became a great place. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's only 115 minutes. I'll applaud that. Kept it under 2 hours, Matt Shackman. And for that, you deserve at least a star. At least. But I'll be looking for more reviews, and I'll definitely be checking out the box office on Sunday. Yes, Sunday. Sunday we're good for the 7 o'clock live stream. So these are my new video formats. I'm looking at articles. I'm doing some more analysis. It was requested by JEC in my live stream. So if you like this, let me know. If you hate it, yeah, let me know. But mostly I want to hear positive feedback. I have a very, I have a very easily bruised ego. So be nice. Be nice. We'll see you.